Hey, so in this week's video, I really wanted to explore the topic of psychology and how it aligns with instructional design. So number one is the isolation effect, and the isolation effect is about when an object stands out or looks different from its peers. So when you think about an e-learning module, there may be one thing on the screen that stands out or looks different from the rest. And doing this is a really great way to capture the attention of the learner and have them look at that specific thing. So we as humans will look for differences in patterns. So say for example, you're looking at a wall and there was 1,000 red dots and there was one yellow dot. When you think about it, if there was only one yellow dot, it is likely that your eyes would look towards that yellow dot because it stands out, it's different, and you'd be curious as to why it's not like the others. So for your instructional design or your learning solutions, think about the certain parts of information that you really want your user or your learner to pay attention to. So something that we do at Belvista Studios is if we have instruction text, we really want our learners to read that instruction text because it'll enable them to either complete an activity, get to the next screen, or do what they need to do to progress with the course. So using this isolation effect, we make sure that that instruction text looks different to everything else on the screen. So rather than just having normal font, we'll say, for example, the instruction text will be bold or it may be italicized, it could be a different color to the rest of the font, but we make sure that we make it different and stand out to the rest of the content on the screen. The second principle is the law of proximity. So that's all about grouping objects together. So it's saying that as humans, when we see objects that are closer together, we can often think that they're a group. So say that you were looking at a wall and there was 5 dots in one area really close together, there was 5 dots in another area really close together. You could make an assumption that they're two separate groups because these 5 are close in proximity and these 5 are close in proximity. So when you think about e-learning design, how could you apply that in a practical way? So for our screens, if say we had different topics on a screen, so say for example the first topic was about this is an introduction to this screen, this is what you need to do. So that topic could be about the instructions and telling the user the intent of the screen. And then below that there may be buttons, so these buttons could be a way for the user to access different layers. So rather than putting the buttons and the text really close together, we would have a gap. So the learner could say, okay, that's one group, that's the instructions, and then if we go down a bit further, we've got another group which is the buttons. And then when that layer is revealed, we would have the layer text appear, say, on the other side of the screen. So it might slide on an object, and we'll make sure that that text isn't really close to the instruction text or the buttons, but it's its own group on the side. So that's an example of how you can use the law of proximity to group objects on your screen so that your user can automatically decide which group things belong to and how things work together on the screen. And the third principle is Hicks' law, and Hicks' law is about the amount of options that you give someone and how that impacts their decision making and the time it takes to make a decision. So when you think about an e-learning course, you don't want to give people too many options that they're stuck there, not being able to figure out how to decide on what option they want to select. You really want to make sure that you only include what's necessary. So don't overwhelm them with options. Just give them a few options so that they're able to make a decision in a good amount of time and they're not stuck there trying to figure out what to do next. So that's it for this video on psychology principles for e-learning design. I really hope that those principles are useful for you and you can use them for your instructional design process. I think it's so important to be able to understand your end user and use that when you're designing, and I think psychology is a perfect way to do that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed and have an awesome day.